I never thought my college dorm roommate Tyler would awaken feelings I buried deep inside. He was the all-American jock, charismatic, athletic, and seemingly untouchable. But one fateful night, his tentative touch while I pretended to sleep ignited a spark of desire neither of us could ignore. What unfolded wasn't just a hidden romance. It was a whirlwind of betrayal from a close friend, heartbreaking rejection from my family, and a relentless battle against societal judgment that tested our very identities. In the end, could we rise above the pain to claim the love we deserved? From the moment I stepped into my freshman dorm at UCLA, I knew life was about to get complicated in ways I had never anticipated at all. My name is Alex, and I had always been the type to blend into the background, preferring the quiet comfort of books and solitary walks over the chaotic energy of campus parties and social gatherings that seemed to define college life for so many others around me. But then there was Tyler, my assigned roommate, who was everything I was not. He was the star quarterback on the football team, tall, muscular, with an effortless charm that drew people to him like moths to a flame in the night. His laugh was loud, his stories were endless, and his presence filled every corner of our tiny shared room, making it impossible for me to retreat into my usual shell of invisibility, as I had planned. On that first day, as we unpacked our belongings, I tried to keep things civil, exchanging basic pleasantries about our majors and hometowns. But inside, I was already dreading the semester ahead, wondering how I could possibly share such close quarters with someone so overwhelmingly outgoing and seemingly perfect in every way. Tyler, on the other hand, seemed genuinely excited about the arrangement, slapping me on the back with a grin and saying, "This is going to be epic, man. We are going to crush this year together, no doubt about it at all." I forced a smile, but deep down I felt a twinge of unease, not just from his energy, but from the way his eyes lingered on me a fraction too long, making me question if there was something more beneath his friendly facade that I could not quite pinpoint yet. As the weeks rolled by, our routines settled into an awkward rhythm. During the day, I buried myself in lectures and library sessions, while Tyler juggled practices, games, and a revolving door of friends who dropped by our room at all hours, laughing and joking until late into the night. But it was those quiet moments after the lights went out that started to change everything for me. One night in particular stands out vividly in my memory. I had collapsed into bed, exhausted from a long day pretending to sleep, as the sounds of the campus faded away outside our window. That is when I felt a gentle brush of fingers against my arm, so light at first that I thought it might have been a dream, or perhaps the sheet shifting in the breeze from the cracked window nearby. But no, it was real. Tyler had crossed the small space between our beds, his touch lingering warm and intentional, sending a jolt through my entire body that I could not ignore no matter how hard I tried. My heart pounded in my chest so loudly I was sure he could hear it, but I did not move, I did not pull away. Instead, I lay there frozen, caught between fear and an unexpected curiosity that bloomed in the darkness like a secret I had long buried deep within myself. Why was he doing this, I wondered? Was it a prank, a mistake, or something deeper that he too was afraid to voice out loud in the harsh light of day? The touch withdrew after what felt like an eternity, and I heard him retreat to his bed, the creak of the mattress echoing my racing thoughts as I stared at the ceiling, wide awake for hours afterward. The next morning, Tyler was his usual self, rummaging through his bag, humming a tune from the latest hit song, as if nothing had transpired under the cover of night at all. He glanced over with that signature smirk and said, "Hey, sleepyhead, big lecture today, right? Hope you got some rest last night," or something like that. I mumbled a response, my voice hoarse from the lack of sleep and the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me, but he did not press further, turning back to his routine, while I sat there replaying the moment over and over in my mind, questioning everything I thought I knew about him, and more importantly about myself, and what this could possibly mean for both of us moving forward. As the days turned into weeks, the tension between us grew subtly at first, but undeniably present in every shared glance and accidental brush of shoulders in our cramped room. I found myself watching him more closely, noticing the way his muscles flexed under his shirt during workouts, or how his eyes softened when he talked about his dreams beyond football, things he rarely shared with his rowdy teammates. It was during one of our late-night conversations, forced by a power outage on campus, that he opened up a bit more, admitting that the pressure of being the star player weighed on him heavily, that sometimes he felt like he was living a role scripted by everyone else's expectations, rather than his own true desires, whatever they might be. I nodded, relating more than I let on, sharing a bit about my own struggles with feeling out of place in a world that seemed to reward extroversion over introspection, but I held back the deeper truths, afraid of what admitting them might unleash between us. Then our resident advisor announced a group trip to San Francisco for a cultural festival aimed at broadening our horizons and fostering bonds among the dorm residents. Naturally, Tyler and I were paired as roommates for the hotel stay, which filled me with a mix of dread and inexplicable anticipation that I could not shake off no matter how hard I tried to rationalize it away. On the bus ride north, the cityscape blurred past the windows, but my focus was inward, replaying that nighttime touch and wondering if it would happen again, or if I had imagined the intent behind it entirely. Tyler sat beside me, his knee occasionally bumping mine with the jolts of the road each contact, sending sparks through me that I tried to ignore but failed miserably at doing so. He turned to me at one point, lowering his voice so only I could hear, and asked, "You seem tense, everything all right with you, man?" or something along those lines. I shrugged it off, claiming fatigue from midterms, but his concerned gaze lingered, making me wonder if he too was grappling with the same unspoken questions that haunted me day and night. Arriving in San Francisco, the festival buzzed with energy, colorful booth street performers, and a vibrant crowd that celebrated diversity in ways that felt both liberating and overwhelming to someone like me, who had always hidden parts of myself away from judgment. Tyler and I explored together, at first sticking with the group, but gradually drifting apart from them, finding quiet spots to talk away from the noise. It was in one such moment, overlooking the bay with the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance, that he confessed softly, "I have been thinking about you a lot lately, Alex, more than I probably should admit out loud right now." His words hung in the air, heavy with implication, and I felt my defenses crumble just a little, admitting that I felt the same pull, though I was terrified of what it meant for both of us in a world that often did not understand or accept such connections easily. That night in the hotel room, the air crackled with unspoken tension. As we prepared for bed, I lay there feigning sleep, once more my heart racing in anticipation and fear mingled together inextricably. Sure enough, I felt him approach the mattress, dipping slightly as he sat on the edge, his hand brushing my shoulder, this time more deliberately than before, whispering my name. "Alex, are you awake or not?" I opened my eyes, meeting his in the dim light from the city outside, and in that vulnerable moment, we both acknowledged the truth we had been dancing around for weeks. There was no denying the attraction anymore. It was real, and it demanded to be explored, no matter the risks that lay ahead for us both. The confession in San Francisco marked a turning point, but it also opened the floodgates to a torrent of emotions and challenges that neither Tyler nor I were fully prepared to face head-on at that time. Back in the hotel room after that whispered admission, we talked for hours into the night, our voices low, to avoid waking the others in adjacent rooms, sharing stories of our pasts that we had never revealed to anyone else before. Tyler spoke of growing up in a small conservative town, where being the football hero meant conforming to rigid expectations of masculinity, no room for vulnerability, let alone questioning one's sexuality in any way, shape, or form. He admitted that he had felt attractions to guys before, but buried them deep, afraid of losing his family, his friends, and his place on the team that defined so much of his identity up to that point. I shared my own burdens, how I had always known I was different but chose invisibility as a shield against potential rejection, spending high school avoiding close relationships altogether to prevent anyone from getting too close and discovering my secrets. As we talked, our hands found each other, intertwining in a gesture that felt both comforting and electrifying, a silent promise that we were in this together, whatever this turned out to be in the end. Our first kiss followed naturally, tentative at first, but growing in intensity as we allowed ourselves to feel without the weight of pretense holding us back anymore. It was a release of pent-up longing that left us both breathless and yearning for more, though we kept things gentle, respecting the boundaries we were still navigating carefully. But the bubble of our private world burst sooner than we anticipated during the festival the next day, as we wandered the streets hand in hand, briefly away from prying eyes. Our friend Jake, who had been part of our dorm group, spotted us from afar, his expression shifting from surprise to something darker that I could not quite identify at the time. Later that evening, back with the group, he pulled us aside in a quiet corner of the hotel lobby, his voice laced with accusation, as he demanded to know, "What the hell is going on between you two? This is not normal, guys. You're going to ruin everything if this gets out. Do you even realize that or not?" Tyler tensed beside me, his face paling as the reality of exposure hit him hard, and in a moment of panic, he denied it all, claiming it was just a misunderstanding, that Jake had seen wrong, nothing more, nothing less. I stood there stunned, feeling a sharp stab of betrayal, not just from Jake's judgmental words, but from Tyler's quick retreat into denial, as if our connection was something shameful to be hidden away at all costs. Jake did not buy it entirely, and by the next morning whispers had spread through the group chat, subtle at first, but growing in intensity, with side glances and awkward silences whenever Tyler or I entered the room. Some friends distanced themselves, mumbling excuses about being busy, while others confronted us directly with questions laced in discomfort like, Are you sure this is what you want? It could change how people see you forever, you know that, right? The judgment stung, amplifying my insecurities and making me question if pursuing this was worth the isolation that seemed to follow inevitably in its wake. On the bus ride back to UCLA, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. Tyler sat beside me, but avoided eye contact, his body rigid with the weight of what had transpired over the weekend. I tried to talk to him, whispering that we could figure this out together, but he shook his head, murmuring, "Not now, Alex, I need time to process all of this. Please just give me space for a bit, okay?" His words felt like a rejection, twisting in my gut like a knife, leaving me to stare out the window at the passing landscape, my mind racing with fears of unrequited love, and the possibility that what we had shared was fleeting, a momentary lapse, rather than the beginning of something real and lasting. Back on campus, the fallout continued to unfold in painful waves. Social media, which had once been a casual distraction, now buzzed with veiled comments and anonymous posts hinting at dorm secrets that everyone knew pointed directly at us without naming names explicitly. I felt exposed, vulnerable in a way I had never experienced before, each notification on my phone sending a wave of anxiety through me as I wondered who else knew and what they thought of me now. Tyler threw himself into football practice more intensely than ever, using the field as an escape from the emotional turmoil, but even their rumors followed, with teammates giving him odd looks and the coach pulling him aside for a stern talk about avoiding distractions that could jeopardize his scholarship and future prospects in the sport he loved so dearly. In the quiet of our room at night, the silence between us grew deafening. I lay awake, replaying every moment from that first touch to the kiss in San Francisco, wondering where it all went wrong, and if there was a way to salvage the connection that had felt so promising just days ago. Tyler eventually broke the ice one evening, sitting on his bed, with a heavy sigh, admitting, "I am scared, Alex, terrified of losing everything I have worked for, but I cannot stop thinking about you. Either it is tearing me apart inside. Do you understand that at all?" His vulnerability reignited a spark of hope in me, but also highlighted the harsh realities we faced as young gay men in a society that still harbored prejudices and stereotypes, forcing us to hide parts of ourselves to fit in and survive without constant scrutiny, or worse, outright rejection from those we cared about most. The climax of our turmoil hit like a storm we could not outrun, sweeping through our lives with relentless force and leaving devastation in its wake that tested the very foundations of who we were individually and together. It started with a phone call from home one evening, as I sat in the library trying to focus on assignments, but failing miserably, my mind elsewhere entirely. My parents' voices on the other end were laced with concern at first, then shifting to disbelief and finally anger, as they revealed that a family friend connected to the university had heard whispers about my involvement with another guy, demanding to know if it was true or just malicious gossip spreading through the grapevine without basis. I hesitated, my throat tight with emotion, but eventually confessed, "Yes, it is true. I am exploring my feelings for Tyler, and it feels right for me, even if it is hard to explain right now." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by my father's cold declaration, "This is not how we raised you, Alex. We expected better from you than this kind of phase, or whatever you want to call it. You need to fix this before it ruins your life completely. Do you hear me?" My mother chimed in with tears evident in her voice, pleading for me to think about the family, the church, the community back home, where such things were not accepted, let alone celebrated, urging me to seek help to get back on the right path, as she put it so delicately yet so painfully. Their rejection cut deeper than any physical wound could, feeling like a betrayal from the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, no matter what, turning my world upside down in an instant. I hung up the phone, tears streaming down my face, alone in the quiet stacks of books that offered no comfort in that moment of raw vulnerability and hurt. Back in the dorm, I confided in Tyler, who held me as I sobbed, sharing his own fears of similar reactions from his family, who had always pinned their hopes on him being the perfect son, the one who would marry well and carry on traditions without deviation from the norm they cherished so dearly. For Tyler, the pressure mounted from all sides. His coach intensified warnings about maintaining focus, implying that any scandal could end his athletic career prematurely, while teammates began to distance themselves, some making offhand comments laced with homophobia that stung like barbs under his skin. During a family visit home over a weekend break, his parents confronted him directly, having caught wind of the rumors through social circles, demanding answers and insisting he date a nice girl from their church to prove he was not like that, as his father put it, with disdain evident in every word spoken. Tyler returned to campus broken, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion and defeat, confessing to me in a tearful midnight conversation in the empty quad under the stars that he loved me, but the fear was overwhelming that perhaps we should pause things to protect ourselves from further pain. His words echoed like a death knell for our budding relationship, leaving me reeling with the agony of unrequited love, or at least love that could not withstand the external forces arrayed against it so fiercely. I begged him to reconsider, arguing that hiding would only prolong the suffering, that we deserved to be true to ourselves, even if it meant facing the storm head-on, but he walked away that night, his shoulders slumped in defeat, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the crushing weight of isolation that threatened to consume me entirely. In the days that followed, I grappled with profound self-doubt, questioning if I was strong enough to embrace my identity in a world that seemed intent on punishing me for it every step of the way. Flashbacks to childhood moments where I felt different but suppressed those feelings flooded my mind, amplifying the sense of loss and confusion that defined this period of my life so acutely. Tyler ghosted my messages, avoiding our shared spaces as much as possible, throwing himself into solitary workouts and late-night runs to escape the internal conflict raging within him, a battle between his heart and the expectations that had shaped him for so long without mercy or understanding. The emotional toll was immense, sleepless nights blurred into days filled with anxiety and a deep-seated sadness that made even simple tasks feel insurmountable at times. I found myself withdrawing further from social circles, afraid of more judgment or betrayal that could shatter what little resolve I had left, clinging to memories of our happier moments in San Francisco as anchors in the storm. But even those began to fade under the relentless pressure of reality, crashing down around us both without respite. As the storm of conflict reached its peak, resolution began to emerge from the chaos like faint light breaking through dark clouds, offering glimmers of hope amid the despair that had gripped us so tightly for what felt like an eternity. The turning point came when Jake's betrayal escalated beyond whispers. He posted a photo from the San Francisco trip online, captioning it with mocking emojis and insinuations that fueled a wave of harsh comments from strangers and acquaintances, alike amplifying the hate and judgment we had already endured in private circles. But this act backfired spectacularly on him, as other students rallied against the bullying, calling him out in comments and direct messages for his intolerance and cruelty in a time when empathy should prevail over division. The university LGBTQ Center got wind of the situation, intervening swiftly with an investigation into the harassment that violated campus policies on inclusivity and respect for all students regardless of orientation or identity. Jake faced real consequences: a suspension from extracurricular activities, mandatory attendance at sensitivity training workshops, and a formal apology that he delivered begrudgingly, but publicly acknowledging the harm he had caused not just to us, but to the broader community striving for acceptance. Seeing him held accountable provided a small measure of justice, a validation that our pain was not imagined or deserved, but rather the result of someone else's prejudices that needed to be addressed head-on for change to occur. Emboldened by this, I sought out therapy through the campus counseling services, attending sessions where I poured out my heart to a compassionate listener who helped me unpack the layers of internalized shame and fear that had built up over years of hiding my true self from the world around me. "You deserve to live authentically," the counselor affirmed in one particularly poignant session. "Your worth is not defined by others' acceptance, but by your own embrace of who you are deep down inside, without apology or compromise." Slowly, I connected with the queer community on campus, attending support group meetings where stories similar to mine were shared openly, tears and laughter mingling, as we bonded over shared experiences of rejection and resilience in the face of adversity. These gatherings became lifelines, reminding me that I was not alone in this fight, that countless others had navigated similar paths and emerged stronger on the other side, ready to advocate for change in their own unique ways. Tyler observed from a distance, at first his presence noted in passing glances during campus events, but eventually he reached his breaking point, showing up at my door one rainy night, his clothes soaked and his expression raw with emotion that could no longer be contained within. "I cannot pretend anymore, Alex," he admitted, stepping inside as I closed the door behind him. "The pretense, the hiding, it is killing me inside more than any judgment ever could. Do you understand that now, after all we have been through together?" We talked through the night, revisiting our fears, our family's unyielding expectations, and the stereotypes that boxed us in: Tyler as the macho athlete who could not possibly be gay, and me as the quiet introvert who should just stay in the shadows without rocking the boat. His family had disowned him, temporarily cutting off contact after he came clean about us, but he chose authenticity over their approval, declaring that living a lie was no life at all worth pursuing in the long run. Together, we confronted the remnants of our pain, vowing to support each other through the ongoing battles that lay ahead, whether from societal OSUJDYNE or internal doubts that lingered like shadows in our minds. We reported lingering harassment to authorities, ensuring that voices of hate did not go unchallenged, and began participating in awareness campaigns on campus, speaking out against homophobia in sports and academia, to break down barriers for future generations who might face similar struggles without the tools to fight back effectively. In the months that followed, our reconciliation blossomed into a deeper, more resilient bond, forged in the fires of adversity, and tempered by the lessons we had learned along the way about love loss and the unyielding pursuit of self-acceptance in a world that often demanded conformity at the expense of individuality. Tyler came out publicly in a heartfelt post on social media, sharing his journey with vulnerability that inspired others in the athletic community to question outdated stereotypes and embrace diversity within their ranks without fear of reprisal or exclusion. He joined advocacy groups dedicated to combating homophobia in sports, volunteering his time to mentor younger athletes who grappled with similar identities hidden away from view due to societal pressures that weighed heavily on their shoulders day after day. My parents, after initial heated arguments and periods of silence, began to educate themselves, attending PFLAG meetings, where they heard stories from other families navigating similar paths toward understanding and acceptance over time. It was not an overnight transformation. Arguments flared and tears flowed, but gradually, bridges were built through open dialogues that replaced judgment with empathy, one conversation at a time. Our relationship did not unfold in the spotlight. We kept things private at first, allowing space to heal and grow without external interference. But as confidence built, we became more open, holding hands in public, sharing laughs with friends who had stuck by us through the turmoil without wavering in their support. The betrayal by Jake and the rejection from our families taught us invaluable lessons about resilience, the importance of surrounding ourselves with true allies who uplifted rather than tore down, and the power of standing firm in our truths, even when the world pushed back with all its might. Today we stand together stronger than ever, advocating for those still in the shadows, encouraging them to step into the light where they belong without shame or apology for who they love or how they identify in this vast tapestry of human experience. If you're struggling, know that love in all its forms is worth fighting for, that self-acceptance is the foundation upon which true happiness is built, and that hope persists even in the darkest moments, waiting to guide you toward a brighter tomorrow filled with possibility and peace at last. Our story is not unique, but it is a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dare to be themselves against all odds, leaving an emotional legacy of triumph over tribulation for all who listen and learn from it moving forward.